Okay, so today we're diving into some pretty unsettling stuff, right? We've got White Bear, that Black Mirror episode, and then we're going way back with Kafka's The Trial.
Yeah, two totally different mediums and time periods, right? But I think there's something that connects them that we're gonna find really fascinating today.
Yeah, and I think for me, what really sticks out with both White Bear and The Trial is this feeling of, being trapped by these forces, these systems that are like totally beyond your control.
Absolutely, and I think that that's something that's really fascinating. This idea of this kind of overwhelming power of a system that you can't understand, you can't really fight against.
Right. And White Bear, I mean, it's so in your face, right? You've
Yeah.
got this woman, she wakes up, she has no memory, and she's immediately being hunted down, like chased by these masked figures, and everybody's just filming it with their phones. Like it's horrifying.
Right, it's that immediate visceral kind of
Yeah.
horror, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then you have the trial, which is like a much slower burn, right?
Yep.
Joseph
Okay.
K, he's arrested, but he doesn't even know what he's been arrested for.
Right. And he's just going through this absurd legal process that's like impossible to understand, impossible to navigate, and it's like slowly just crushing him, you
Yeah.
know?
It's like this bureaucratic nightmare, right? It's not the immediate physical threat that you see in White Bear, but it's this this grinding, slow psychological torture.
Yeah, it's like two different flavors of the same kind of like existential dread, you know?
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes them so unsettling. And then you add in this element of the public spectacle, right? I mean, in White Bear, it's literally a show. People are like watching this woman's suffering for entertainment.
Right. It's like they're completely dehumanized. She's
Mhm.
not even a person to them anymore. She's just like a character in this sick game.
Right. And it's interesting because in the trial, you see a similar thing, even though it's not as overt. Joseph K's attempts to like defend himself, to figure out what's going on, they all become these public spectacles within this like bizarre legal system.
Yeah, and it's like nobody really cares about him. They're just like going through the motions, and he's just like this pawn in this bigger game that he doesn't even understand.
It's like both of these stories are kind of critiques of societal complicity and the loss of individual dignity in the face of these powerful systems.
And that's what makes them so relevant, I think, even though they're like, fictional stories, they tap into something very real about like
Yeah.
the way that, individuals can get lost, can be dehumanized
Yeah.
in the face of these larger forces.
Yeah, and it makes you think about what are the unseen systems that are shaping our lives today? Are we all just kind of, going along with things without really understanding the bigger picture, the forces that are at play?
And I think one key difference between the two is like the nature of the accusation, right? In White Bear, like we eventually find out that she did commit this crime, this horrible crime, and it's like it's twisted, but it's there.
Right, it gives it a context, right? It doesn't make the punishment any less horrific, but it at least explains the why, the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, whereas in the trial, it's just this complete void.
Yeah.
There's no accusation, there's no explanation. It's just this system that's punishing him for reasons that are completely unknown.
And I think that's what makes the trial even more unsettling in a way, because it suggests that sometimes there is no reason, sometimes things just happen, and you're just caught up in the machinery of it all.
Right. It's like a nightmare where you're just like running from something, but you don't even know what it is.
Exactly. And I think that kind of speaks to the power of both of these stories, right? White Bear gives us this immediate visceral experience of persecution, and the trial lets us slowly sink into this bureaucratic and psychological nightmare.
So it's like two different sides of the same coin. Two different ways of exploring this feeling of being trapped, being powerless, being dehumanized by forces that are beyond your control.
And it makes you wonder, are we all just kind of sleepwalking through our lives, just accepting things as they are without really questioning the systems that are in place?
Right. Or are we all just like, waiting for the day that we wake up and realize that we're the ones in the White Bear Justice Park, or that we're the ones being tried in Kafka's absurd court?
And maybe that's the real horror of these stories, right? The realization that maybe we're already there.
Yeah, that's a thought to leave our listeners with for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.